Okay, so let's get right into it. We're going to break down the core philosophy behind one of the most talked about, maybe even feared books out there, The 48 Laws of Power. And it all starts with a pretty wild idea. What if power isn't about being good or evil? What if it's just a game? A game with a ruthless, timeless set of rules? To really get the book's pretty stark perspective, we gotta go way back. We're talking the 9th century Byzantine Empire. So you have Emperor Michael III, his best friend in the whole world, a humble stable boy named Basilius. And Michael hooks him up. I mean, he gives him everything: wealth, a top-notch education, incredible power. But that friendship, well, it totally blinded him. He didn't see the truth until it was way too late, when that same stable boy, now more powerful than the emperor himself, had him murdered just to take the throne. Ouch. Yeah, and that story, it perfectly sets the stage for the whole book. The main argument is that power isn't about morality at all. It's not good, it's not evil, it's just a social game. And this game has timeless, unchangeable rules. And get this, knowing those rules isn't just an advantage, it's basically a necessity for survival. Okay, so let's break down the first core principle. And it's a big one. Power is all about perception. It's got nothing to do with what's real and everything to do with what people see. The idea is, if you can control the stage, you can control the whole game. And honestly, there's no better example of this than the master showman himself, P.T. Barnum. This guy got it. He understood a fundamental truth. Any attention, good, bad, it doesn't matter, is a form of power. For Barnum, the absolute worst thing that could happen wasn't getting criticized, it was being ignored. So early in his career, Barnum's American Museum was actually failing. He desperately needed to draw a crowd, but instead of, advertising a new exhibit, he just manufactured a complete mystery right on the streets of New York. He hired an unemployed guy for this totally bizarre performance. And here's what the guy had to do. The sheer mystery of it all was just irresistible. His serious face, the way he walked so methodically, the absolute total pointlessness of it. It was baffling. People were mesmerized. They literally could not look away. And the result? Get this, on the very first day, over 1,000 curious New Yorkers bought tickets to his museum. And they weren't there for the exhibits. Nope, they just wanted to follow this guy inside and figure out what in the world he was doing. The whole spectacle got so big, the police actually had to shut it down because it was blocking traffic. Incredible. And that is the key takeaway. Barnum literally created a massive amount of attention from nothing. Zero. He didn't need a new attraction, he just needed a show. And in doing so, he proved that mastering your public image is the absolute foundation of all influence. All right, so let's build on that with the next big principle, controlling what other people do. And we're not talking about force here. It's about making them come to you, forcing them to react on your terms. It's really the art of setting a trap so perfectly that your opponent walks right into it and they're thinking it was their own brilliant idea the whole time. You're basically making them ditch their own plans to follow a script that you secretly wrote for them. Let's look at the fall of Napoleon. So after his first big defeat, the powers of Europe exiled him to this tiny island, Elba. And most of the leaders were like, great, problem solved. But one guy, his former minister, this super cunning dude named Talleyrand, he knew this wasn't enough. A guy like Napoleon, that close to Europe, he wasn't a prisoner. He was a ticking time bomb. So Talleyrand, he doesn't raise an army. He doesn't fight Napoleon head-on, no. He sets a trap. He dangles the one thing he knows Napoleon could never, ever resist, the promise of a glorious comeback. He literally created a path and baited Napoleon to walk right down it, a path that led straight to his final crushing defeat at Waterloo. You see, Napoleon thought he was seizing this amazing opportunity. But in reality, he was just a pawn in a much, much bigger game. By controlling the options and playing on Napoleon's massive ego, Talleyrand held all the cards, and he never even had to show his hand. Okay, this brings us to our final core principle for today, and it's a huge one: the incredible power of winning through what you do, not what you say. I mean, think about it, right? Arguing with someone, even when you know you're right, usually just makes them defensive. It creates resentment. But a really clever action, it can prove your point without you ever having to say a word and without bruising anyone's ego. So just picture this. Michelangelo has just finished his masterpiece, the Statue of David. His patron, the mayor of Florence, a guy named Piero Soderini, comes to see it. Now, this guy fancies himself a bit of an art expert. He looks up at this towering work of genius and says, "The nose, it's too big." I mean, can you imagine? Michelangelo knows the mayor is totally wrong. It's just the perspective from the ground. But arguing with the guy who signs your paychecks? Yeah, not a great idea. So what does he do? This is just brilliant. Michelangelo grabs a chisel and, secretly, a handful of marble dust. He climbs up the scaffolding, motions for the mayor to watch closely from down below, and then he starts to tap lightly on the chisel, letting the dust trickle down. He's creating the perfect illusion that he's carving the nose, but he never actually touches it. So after a few moments of this little performance, Michelangelo climbs down and asks the mayor what he thinks now. And Soderini, now believing that he helped perfect the masterpiece, is absolutely thrilled. And just like that, Michelangelo saved his statue, he flattered his patron, and he proved his point, all with one single, silent, masterful move. So, when you look at all these stories, you've got Barnum's crazy public stunts, Talleyrand's political traps, Michelangelo's artistic genius. What do they tell us about the core philosophy of power in this book?
Well, it really just boils down to these three key pillars. Real, lasting power isn't about brute force. It's about mastering the subtle arts of perception, strategy, and, indirect influence.
The book's central argument is really that the most powerful moves are the ones you don't even see. They're those subtle actions that guide people where you want them to go, but without them ever realizing they're being led. It's all about being adaptable, being patient, and always thinking a few moves ahead of everybody else.
And all of this leaves us with one last kind of provocative question to think about. In a world that's just full of competing ambitions, from your office all the way up to the global stage, can you really choose not to play this game? Or does just trying to ignore the rules make you a pawn in somebody else's game?